Hello and welcome to the Fit Foodie on Graziella TV. I'm your host, Graziella Barada Ventura. Thank you so much for joining me in another fabulous episode of the Fit Foodie on GTV, where I serve up a hot dish of this and that. Today, we'll be making one of my favorite treats, biscuits. Love them. But we'll be making them Fit Foodie style, of course. Gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan. Let's get started. Okay, now we're going to begin right over here with my array of different flours. Here I've got 3 different types of gluten-free flour, which will lend a delicious and perfect texture to these biscuits that taste like they have gluten in them. So if you can see here, there's 3 slightly different colors. The bottom one is a brown rice flour. Then the second one is slightly darker with little dark specks, and that's sorghum flour. And then the top one is tapioca. So it makes a total of about 1 3/4 cups of flour. So I've got about 1/2 cup of the brown rice. Then I have about another 1/2 cup of the sorghum. And then I have 3/4 cup of the tapioca. So let's pour this in here. Okay, so you want to mix these well and blend them well so that they become one flour. Now you can totally buy a pre-mixed, all-purpose, gluten-free flour blend. That's perfectly acceptable. But I do like to blend my own flours because as you become familiar with the different gluten-free flours, you know what they taste like and the textures they give food and how they come out. So this is what I like best for a biscuit. Okay, so that's blended well. Now I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And I'm using, of course, Himalayan sea salt here. Next, I've got a teaspoon of xanthan gum. Important to bind those flours together in gluten-free baking. And then I've got 1½ teaspoons here of baking powder. That's going to help them fluff up. Next, I've got a teaspoon of garlic powder. And this is just, this is actually mixed with some parsley, so that's really nice. I like this one. So a teaspoon of garlic powder. And if you happen to find the one mixed with parsley, it's really nice. So now, let's blend all of these things together well. This is such an easy recipe to make. Sometimes I make this on a morning that I'm off and I have a little time. And I really don't spend too much time in the kitchen. This is really a 30-minute process. Okay, now we're going to get our milk ready because we want these to taste like they're buttermilk biscuits. So what I do, I use unsweetened coconut milk. I'm going to use a cup. Let's measure that out. Okay, and now we're going to add the acid factor to make it taste like it's buttermilk. So here I've got apple cider vinegar. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of that inside the coconut milk. Just stir that up a bit. And now you might see that it starts to curdle as if it were real buttermilk. So we're going to let that sit. And as that's sitting, now we're going to measure out 5 tablespoons of your favorite dairy-free buttery spread. And here I have organic earth balance. That's my favorite. So you want to make sure that this is cold. Now we're going to press it into the flour until the flour becomes like little pebbles, little pea-sized pebbles. So kind of just use the side of your spatula to smash it in, or you could even use a fork or a pastry cutter, but you don't really need anything fancy. I just use my nice wooden spatula and that's perfectly fine. And now towards the end, you want to just kind of dig your hands in there and make sure it's nicely incorporated. And get your hands a little bit dirty. This is the fun part. If you have kids, I'm sure they'd love helping you out with this part. So I have to tell you, my love of biscuits began when I would travel to the South with my parents during the summertime. We would always drive to Florida and we would pass through all of the other states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and we would always eat the delicious Southern food. And although those aren't my roots, they have become a part of my roots. I love Southern food, but it is extremely rich. So I've always sought out to make alternative recipes that I can eat a little bit more often. Okay, so this looks great now. Nice and crumbly. That's exactly what you want it to look like. So now I'm going to put in my faux buttermilk, a little bit at a time. And I'm just going to get the spatula to start mixing it up because it is going to get sticky. Okay, so the consistency of this is going to be like a super thick pancake batter, and it's going to be lumpy. You want it that way. So I really like the Dia shreds because they are free of all the other common allergens. So these are really great and they taste good and they melt well. So we're going to measure out 1 cup of this. So as you can see, they look like cheddar cheese and they're nicely shredded. We're going to pour this right in. So now incorporate the cheese shreds well into the mixture. Great, so now we're just going to put this aside and get our cookie sheet ready for the biscuit. Okay, so now I have a cookie sheet ready with some parchment paper over it. So I just want to make it a little bit longer and fold it under. So this is going to prevent the biscuits from burning on the bottom and will give them a good overall even bake. I'm going to take a tablespoon and measure out the batter in tablespoon-sized dollops all along the cookie sheet. And it's okay if they're messy and asymmetrical. These are going to bake up very nicely. More to this one. Well, that was easy enough. Now we're going to pop these into a preheated 450-degree oven. And now we're just going to let these babies bake for about 12 to 15 minutes. And I can't wait. Now it's time to take the biscuits out of the oven. Oh, amazing. These smell so good. Oh yes, look at that. My God. Oh. These smell so good and they're so hot. I'm going to burn my hands, but I just want to eat them right now. Soft and buttery, and the cheddar shreds are nicely melted. You are not going to believe that these are gluten-free, dairy-free, and vegan. They're fantastic. And for all of you who haven't been able to eat any of those typical ingredients that are in biscuits, this is your lucky day. You're going to love these. You're going to be able to enjoy biscuits like you once did. And everyone else around you won't know the difference either. I hope you guys try this recipe at home and love these tender, buttery-like biscuits just as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching the Fit Foodie on Graziella TV. And don't forget to like us on facebook.com/Graziella TV. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Graziella TV is brought to you by Angel Sanchez Pictures. And Be Unique Total Image Consulting, helping you become a better version of you.